Alright, so this is Rahul. The topic of today is Onshape basics, and today I will be trying to create this part as assigned by Ms. FInis in Onshape in order to demonstrate the basic tools and facilities that Onshape offers and attempt to better familiarize myself and anyone watching with Onshape fundamentals. So this is the blueprint we're going to be using. Let's just get started. Let's create a new project. Alright, so new document. We'll call this activity. I don't know. Activity 5. Sure. Alright, so first, let's just get used to the navigation. Right click and hold lets you rotate around the figure. Left click lets you select certain things. If you hold down your scroll wheel, you can pan around, or if you hold control and right click, you can pan around like that. Or you can use the view cube to go to certain views. If you click on the edge, then it'll rotate. If you click on like a vertex, then it'll go to an orthocentric? Whatever that ortho word is. An ortho view, whatever. I'm generally just going to be using my mouse to navigate. So let's just start on the front plane. Let's focus down on the front plane. And right click to start a new sketch. So from what I can tell, this is going to be well made if we sketch the outer face, as in probably from the front view. If we just drew this cylinder looking thing and this box separately, then we could create two different extrusions. But it seems like it's flush from the back. So if we started from the back and then worked forward, the extrusion would be very simple. Okay. Alright, that makes sense. If you didn't get what I just said, then don't worry, we'll get right into it, but it'll make more sense as I go on. So, first I'll be discussing an additive method of creation. So we're going to create a sketch and just extrude it out in order to create the final diagram. So let's just go with, oh wait, I was already on the front view. Okay, so we're in sketch mode right now. We just entered sketch mode before. So let's see, the first lower rectangle is 1.75 inches by 0.25 inches, so let's create that. We'll go and choose the line tool. And also shortcuts are very nice. So line tool is L. Good to know for future reference. Right now, the actual shape doesn't need to be exact, because once we draw it, we can use dimensions to make it exact. So it'll be like a rectangle on the bottom with seems like a barn house looking shape. So it'll just be two lines and a curve, I think. So we'll go like that. Create one line. I probably don't need a second line there, so I'm gonna click escape. Click L for line tool again. Okay, let's create that. Click escape, and then we need an arc, right? So 3-point arc. Sounds good. Sounds good. Now let's see, how is the arc measured out? It's 0.25 high and 0.75 wide. I guess it's just a smooth arc after that. So I think okay, so with the arc, you choose your two segments and you choose your height, right? So we'll just do that. So that makes the barn house looking shape. And then the one last shape that we need is the little square cut hole in the middle, which seems to be fine. Okay, so let's make the hole. L for line tool, and we'll just make a little hole right there. There we go. Now you can see that everything is kind of wonky right now. We want it to be perfect rectangles, so let's just choose the appropriate segments and we'll make it perpendicular. You can see there's a shortcut here, or if we wanted, we could just select the line, and I'm holding shift to select more than one line. So if you choose those two lines and you go up here and you click the perpendicular constraint, it'll make it perpendicular, right? And if you choose these two, that'll be perpendicular. So now what we want to do is that and that should be perpendicular. It is, okay. For some reason that doesn't look like it's perpendicular. Alright, whatever. I know these two aren't perpendicular, so let's make that perpendicular. There we go. You know what? Let's just make everything perpendicular. And that, we'll make that perpendicular. Ah, there we go. Now it looks straight. Okay, cool. So now what we want to do is we want to get the appropriate dimensions. So this will be 1.75 by 0.25, and right now I'm only worrying about the face right now. We'll worry about the extrusions later. So it's 1.75 by 0.25 high. So D for dimension. So if we choose that side, we're going to make that 0.25, I believe, and we're going to make this 1.75. All right, that's good. And now we want our, I can't tell if this means to the edge of the prism or the overall height. I think it means overall height. It's a little bit annoying, but I don't know, we'll manage it, it'll be fine. Okay, so we seem to be 0.5 from both edges. I'm assuming this is symmetric. So we'll create this dimension first. All right, so D for dimension. Seem to be, actually, you know what? Since this is one line in itself, if we just choose this, it won't choose this smaller segment here, but rather it'll choose the entire line, which means that if we want to make it separate, then what we have to do is we have to choose the dimension. Oh, D for dimension. Let's choose that, right? And we have to choose the distance between this line and this line. So we'll choose that, and we'll choose that. So we get this distance, so that'll be 0.5. It's loading, just give it a sec. All right, so now it's 0.5 from here, which means it should also be 0.5 from here. But we don't need to constrain that. That'll be on its own because that'll be over constrained otherwise. So if we click escape to go back to our pointer, our rectangle here is moved out of place. So we'll just move that back to here. I'm just clicking and dragging right now. All right. So now we have these three dimensions. Now we need to know from the bottom to the top of that, right? Let's see. So that'll be, dang it, okay. It's kind of annoying to zoom in for this every time, but it's whatever. Okay, so we want from the ground to the top of this, I think the total height is 1.25 from this base to the top of that, because the blue line lines up right there. So we'll take our dimension tool again. Oh, by the way, scroll wheel is to zoom in and out. Ah, didn't need to do that. Okay, let's just go back to the front. Okay, there we go. So now, if we just go here, we want to choose D for the dimension tool again, and we're taking the height from this line segment to the top of that. And that should be, how much? I forgot. It's 1.25, okay. So it is 1.25, okay. And we also know that it's not a full semicircle, it is squished. And it says, should be 0.75 wide. So we'll do that right now. So we'll go from here to here, and this is 0.75. Right, and now, let's see. Now see, it doesn't exactly give us the height from the center of the circle to the edge. It only gives it to us from the edge of the box to there. So if we can't fix the box, then we can't really squish the top. That's a little bit annoying, but it should be okay. So we'll create the dimensions of the box first. So I think that seems to be 0.5 by 0.25. All right, that's not bad. So we'll say this is 0.5 by 0.25. Alright. And I'm assuming that this needs to be like constrained to the center or something. Well, it's not given in the picture, but it looks like the arc starts from the top of the rectangle. So I'm gonna make that assumption. I really shouldn't be making that assumption, but we'll make that assumption. Okay, so so we want to have a midpoint on this line, right? So that it's constrained, right? Hold on. Choose the point function, and we'll just choose the midpoint right there. We'll just hover over that. And then what we want to do is we want to line this up with the edge of that. So if we click escape to go back to our pointer, what we can do is zoom in right here. And if we choose this dot and hold shift to choose this center, we can make it coincident. I believe that's the right word. Yeah, coincident. So now that arc will be starting from the exact center of that rectangle that we need. And I'm assuming that's what they wanted in the picture. That looked like what they wanted. So now what we want to do is we want to constrain the height of the arcs, which we were given the height of. And that was 0.25. Okay. Got it. So D for dimension. One more time, we're going to take from here to the height of that, and we're going to make that 0.25. So it'll be a squished arc. I see, yeah. See, now that's going to be a little bit of a problem because it doesn't want to squish the arc. I see, okay. So since it's red, that means that it's over constrained. Now here's what we have to do. Can we move this up? No, we can't. Okay, so this arc needs to be fixed, which means that that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We are going to go back to escape. We're going to delete that arc, right? And we do know what the height of the bottom should be, I think, right? Yeah, so the height of the lines themselves before the curve is 1.25, which is the total height minus 0.25. So it's just one tall for both lines. And I'm quite certain both of these lines should be of equal length, so we'll just make them equal. And we'll click D for dimension, and we'll set that to 1 inch, okay? And now we want to make an arc such that the total height is 1.25, right? So if we just place a point here and we mark it up above this, right? And if we choose the dimension, we can choose the dimension between the top of this and that should be 0.25, right? So now that will be centered on this, which means we can get a squished arc with these 3 points. So now if we choose the arc, 3-point arc, then we can go from here to here to here. There we go. That should make the proper squish formation, right? And now what we want to do is, instead of making that coincident, we have to make it coincident to the line over here. So what I'm going to do is, this is something that we haven't learned yet, but we're going to take a line. We're going to make a line between these 2 points, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to select that line itself, and we're going to make that construction, which is this line here. That means that this line won't be included in the final sketch, but it'll be used to construct whatever else that we need to do. So then we're going to take the midpoint of this, and just zoom in a little bit here. We're going to select that, and we're going to select the midpoint. Actually, you know what? We need a midpoint here, so let's just select another point function. We'll place it in the middle, and I'm just hovering over it until I see that little box over there. That shows that it's the middle of that line. So all I'm going to do now is click escape to go back to my pointer, select that point. Actually, no. I want to select this point first. It'll move this point 2 there, right? So now I want to select that point and then select that point and make that coincident. There we go. And let's see. Zoom out. Okay, so now this is 1 tall, this is 0.25 as it should be. It's a squished arc, and this starts at the edge of that arc. That's what we want. Now, is there anything left for us to constrain? I don't think so. So we have the box of correct dimensions, 0.25 by 0.5, good. We have the height as a total of 1.25 because it's 1 on this side and then 0.25 to the top. It's a squished arc at the top. That's 0.75 wide. That's good. And the lower base is 1.75 by 0.25. All right, perfect. Now we just need to extrude it. So this is our finished first sketch. So we can click the check mark to finish the sketch. And now what we can do is extrude it. So let's right click on the part that we want to extrude first. Now I like extruding my parts kind of separately-ish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude the bottom first because it's obviously the longest part. It seems to be extruded until 0.75. Okay, so we'll choose that and we'll right click and we'll click extrude right there. Now, if I just rotate a little bit, it'll show me how much I want to extrude. I want to extrude blind because it doesn't really matter where I extrude to, but we do know that the back face is flush, so we want to extrude this way. We don't want to extrude symmetrically because that would make it not flush at the back. So we're going to extrude blind for 0.75 as it said in the drawing. So we'll click the check mark. And now you'll notice the rest of the sketch disappears. That's because it assumed that I was done with that sketch, but I'm not actually. So I'm just going to click that eyeball so that it still shows. Now what I want is to extrude this section, right click, extrude. I want to extrude that for 0.5 as it said in the sketch. And that should be the finished sketch right there. It looks kind of like a totem pole looking thing. And yeah, that's about it. So that is activity 5, I guess. I wasn't really given a name. And that is how you do that. I hope you learned something by watching, and if you have any questions, just leave it in the comment section. I'll try to get back to you. And that's about it for now. Thank you and goodbye.